Hello everyone, this is LaVoy Finicum. I promised you I'd keep you updated with how things are going, and so I need to update you. A lot has happened in the last few days. I've just had a long day. It's late in the evening. I've traveled to Kingman, our county seat, and back. That's a round trip of approximately 600 miles. So I went down there, had an appointment with our county sheriff, Jim McCabe. Good visit with him. I learned a lot, and I like what I heard, and so I'll tell you what the conversation was about. He's already been approached by the feds, by the FBI, and the head of the BLM law enforcement. And forgive me if I get the names right, but I think Special Agent Bean, I think is the name. Forgive me if I have it wrong. And Blakely is the BLM head of the BLM Rangers, law enforcement in this area. And they've already approached the county sheriff. They have a plan. It's being implemented. And the sheriff says he doesn't know what it is, but he promised me that they were not going to let things lay. But this was the interesting thing, and I want to take my hat off and give a tip to Sheriff McCabe. I appreciated what I saw, what I heard. He seems to be a man of integrity. First time I've met him, I spoke to him before. This was his stand. He says that he is interested that there is no physical confrontation, and that he doesn't want the feds pointing guns at me and me not to point guns at them. And that's a dang good idea. In fact, it'd be a very stupid thing for me to point guns at anybody. I've never pointed guns at anybody. I don't intend to. But let's get some of the history straight. They have pointed guns at me and have promised to shoot me. So let's get the history straight. Because I rode down there with my friend and neighbor Clive and Bundy. They pointed a lot of guns at us. Snipers, SWAT teams, Federal Rangers, and promising to shoot. So there's only one side that's pointed guns when it comes to me, and it's not me, it's them. But this is an interesting thing, is that they had my letters that I sent to Washington D.C. to the Solicitor General, saying that I'm canceling all my grazing contracts with them. And so they had that to present, and they requested an interesting thing. They requested to be deputized by the county sheriff. That's actually a good thing. That's recognizing that the county sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. And they're trying to cover all their bases this time. They've studied and learned from the Bundy standoff, and so they're laying good groundwork. The sheriff refused to do that. So thank you, Sheriff McCabe. He says I see this not as a breaking the law thing. He says and forgive me if I don't get everything quite right, Sheriff McCabe, but this is the way I remember it, the way I understand it from our conversation today, is that you're just, you won't tolerate people pointing guns at each other. And thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's go down the track a little bit more. Well, the Special Agent Bean and Chief BLM Law Enforcement Officer Blakely, what are they doing? Well, yesterday they're out scoping out the lay of the land of my ranch. They're getting a feel for the land. They're meeting with some of the neighboring ranchers and pumping them from information, getting the feel of where they stand on this issue. Tend to be trying to sow a little bit of seeds of fear and distrust, and so they've done that. They've gone to the county sheriff asking to be deputized, and the county sheriff said, I don't know what their plan is, but they are not going to let it lay. But they said to the sheriff, the Fed said to the sheriff, we promise you that we're not going to have a physical confrontation with Mr. Finicum out there. We're going to solve this thing, and the word that was used was administratively. Well, that's good, I guess, that they're not going to make a physical confrontation. But let me ask you a couple of questions. If there's not going to be a physical confrontation, why are you asking to be deputized? And if you're not looking at doing anything physical, why are you scoping out the lay of the land? And what are you going to do if I don't leave? Sounds like all those things tend to look like something is going to happen physically. So I would like to know what your plans are, feds. You know, you're going to come at me financially. You've already contacted my lending institution. It looks like this meeting that's set up for this Friday with Mohave County supervisors, the brand inspector, and the head of the grazing board. And I imagine, pretty certain, you've already made your contacts with them. And so I'm a little curious about this meeting. That it sounds to me like it's kind of a setup to me. I have a hard time trusting you, federal government. I really do. And you say, well, why shouldn't I trust you or take your word? Well, I think our chief executive officer, Mr. President Obama, says things like, if you want your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period, in relations to Obamacare. And it will bend the cost of health care down $2,500 per family, knowing full well that those are lies. Those are just simple things. We're lied to from the rising of the sun to the setting of the moon. And you have lost all credibility. And on a personal note, I'm very well aware of the deceptions that you were playing down there at Bundyville. You were very deceptive in your actions and in the way you presented yourself and the things that you tried to do. So I'm well aware of that. Now, so here's another line that I need to draw in the sand. It's very important that I'm very clear and upfront with everybody. And please, America, pay attention to this. This is not a small thing. I will not step into a federal court. Now, why? I have been listed as a domestic terrorist with all those of us that stood with Clive and Bundy down there. That is no small thing. More than once, at the highest levels of the federal government, we have been classified as domestic terrorists. Under the NDAA Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, a domestic terrorist can be detained indefinitely without trial. So there is no way I am going to take your word that I'll get a fair shake in a federal court. So it's just not going to happen. So whatever your next plan is administratively, know this. I'm not going into a federal court. I will not take your word. You're deceptive. I love the feel of the wind on my face. I love the smell of the sage. I love the smell of the cedar and the pinyon. Yeah, the desert after rain. That smell is just unique. I love that. One of my most favorite smells. I love the feel of a good strong horse beneath me. I love being a free man. So no matter how long or short my days may be, I am going to live as a free man. I am not going to bow down before you. I am not going to take my cows off of there. How about this? How about you go home? How about you leave us alone? How about you leave Mohave County to manage Mohave County? You, federal government, have woven yourself into every nook and cranny and aspect of our lives in America. Nobody can say that the Affordable Care Act is freedom. We are not free. You have found a way to regulate every aspect of our lives. Well, here I am, just a little simple rancher out here. And I can stand up and say, you know what? I'm through. I'm going to live as a free man. Well, Mr. Obama, this goes out to you. You are the Chief Executive Officer. This goes out to you, Loretta Lynch. You're the Attorney General. This goes out to you, Special Agent Bean. Again, I hope I got your name right. And to you, BLM Ranger Blakely. I'm not going. I'm not leaving. How about you leave? How about you leave me alone? How about you leave my cows alone? Sounds good to me. Well, I'll let you know how things go. And everyone, how about we just stand up for freedom? How about we quit bowing down to this type of overreach of a federal government that has amassed control and power ever increasing into itself? How about we stand up and tell them, go back, return to the confines of the Constitution? Well, this is just LaVoy. One Cowboy stand for freedom. I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed, and hope you have a good evening. Thanks.